for his presentation. Welcome to the afternoon sessions of our conference. So, Eric, it's all yours.
Thank you so much. Well, welcome everyone. I see a few people in the chat had typed things about who they are and where they're from. I'm excited to present today. I'm going to start with sharing my screen like everyone else, and hopefully everyone sees a screen to join a Pear Deck. Whether you want to do this on perhaps you have a personal device or maybe you're working off of two screens, I do encourage you all to go to joinpd.com. And then once you join pd.com, you can type in this very unique code, Zesty Carrots Honestly Zip Determined Elephants, just the acronym, we'll be fine. This is optional in order to follow along today, but this is how I'm going to bring in some of that interaction. If you're unfamiliar with Pear Deck, it's one of my favorite tools. It is a free add-on for Google Slides. There is a paid version for anyone interested with that. I've found that for most things, I can use the free version and pretty much get what I need to get out of it, but that's just me. So I'll give just a few more minutes. Well, not really a few more minutes. I don't want to take too much time on joining here, but we'll get started with this in just a moment. Bonjour, Mona. So again, real quick, joinpd.com and ZCHZDE. Do not need a space in between, and it'll sort of auto enroll you in this little course. The next screen you'll see after that is an optional screen about how you're feeling today. You can click on that or click skip. And then once you do that, it should bring you on whichever device you're working on. It should bring you to the title screen, Mission Possible, a course template that encourages quality and builds capacity. Eastern Idaho. Well, good morning to the West Coast. Good afternoon to the East Coast. We're in that weird time frame where some of us are in different spots. I'm going to click start the class now. The code is in the upper right corner. If someone does join us, we can sort of maybe help each other out and point that out. Boone, North Carolina, Stacy, great. I used to live in Charlotte, so awesome. I love my North Carolina people. Charleston, I just spent a trip down there. Terrific. Love Charleston. Great, great place to visit. Well, hopefully in your mind, you have that Mission Impossible music going on right now today, you know, in your head. I did think about playing it for a presentation, but I'm going to leave it out for now. And without further ado, I'm actually going to jump right in. In your Pear Deck on your device or other screen, you should see a little blue dot, and then you'll also have this question. And the question is very simple. Your institution has a master course template that encourages quality and builds capacity. And I want you to click and drag that dot to where you think it falls. And think of this more like a continuum. Maybe you're not fully in that green thumbs up. Maybe you're just outside of it. Maybe you're long past it. Maybe you're in this session right now going, uh-oh, you know, what do we do? So I'll give everybody a moment there. I've got 17 of 19 responses. And what I really like about Pear Deck, we can start to see some of those blue dots move on their own, you know, on our shared screen here. And we kind of get what Pear Deck calls us a heat map, kind of an idea of where we're at. So again, one of my favorite tools. I promise I don't own stock in Pear Deck. So I'll just kind of let you know in case you're unfamiliar with it. But it looks like we're kind of all over the board here. We've got some that do have a master course template. We've got some people sort of in the neutral middle zone. Maybe you're not thrilled with it, or maybe you know there's areas you'd like it to improve. And then some who I'm going to make the assumption with the red that there maybe is a master course template and it doesn't really encourage quality or build capacity the way you think that it should. So terrific. By the way, I'm a tab jumper before we go too deep. That's how I complete my missions, which is why I'm not showing full screen for this, because I will actually jump from a couple of tabs around here during our presentation today. So, all right, we've got a nice smattering, so to speak. Our mission today Part of this series is expediting the design process without jeopardizing quality. And some of the things we want to keep in mind as we sort of approach our mission today. Any template that we discuss, or in this case that I'll be demonstrating some things from our template today, we want it to obviously model the QM standards. At Daemen College, we're in our instructional design office, we are big believers in modeling things, not only for students, but also for faculty. When we meet with faculty, we talk about how they can possibly be the first one to contribute to a discussion post to model, what the ideal might look like, or the opposite, of course, maybe model what isn't a great discussion post. So that's part of what I'm going to do today, is try to model some of the things that we put together. Of course, we want this to support student success and offer practical capacity building models for faculty. When I say practical capacity building, things that even with the most, I guess I'll call it the simplest of tools, they are practical tools, something like Google Slides, where we can get our hands on it. It's, for most institutions, they're probably using Google for Ed. I know that there are other, Microsoft Teams, but comparable tools. So we'll take a look at a few of those. If you choose to accept today's mission, our actual objectives for today: to identify strategies to both integrate the QM standards and pedagogical practice throughout a template that you might share with faculty, discuss approaches that usher faculty through rapid course development using a course template. Obviously, COVID hit us all the way it did, and we needed to get courses online quickly, but we also wanted quality. And then as we approached the fall, we really said, okay, at first it was just, let's swim, let's not sink. And as we approached the fall, now let's actually head for shore, was our mentality at Daemen College. So we started building our template for bringing in that quality. And evaluate the flexibility of capacity building and QM aligned course template. So at the end, I'm actually going to ask the crowd to sort of pick our template apart a little bit. You're actually going to help me evaluate my template a little bit today, and let us know where you see some areas that perhaps you already have some ideas or things that could be improved. So again, another quick little interactive thing, knowing the direction that we're heading, and I will be showing pieces of our template today. Please circle how you feel about the direction of this, this workshop, this presentation today. And on your screen, you should see options for a highlighter or a line or even text. Of course, the default is probably the pencil. And while the responses are coming in, all right, we've got one circled the green. We've got a, very favorable purple here. Okay, some maybe not too happy about the direction. Okay, fair enough. We got a green, 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 another green. Oh man, all right. So we got a lot of people that feel like they're in the right workshop. That's good to hear. So, we just got a dot. Maybe we're sticking a tongue out, not quite sure. All right. All right, oranges are good. All right, terrific. So I've got a quick little follow up here. So we're excited, hopefully, about the direction of today's workshop. Here's where we're going to start. What did we do to build our capacity? What was our starting point, right? Identifying those areas. So at Daemen, we first asked ourselves some questions, and in a moment, and I really do want our crowd to really think, if you want to join me, I'm going to ask for a volunteer to unmute themselves in just a moment, and Jim is going to help me identify, who that may be. It's going to be first come, first serve, but I'll get to that in just a moment. You're going to help me with a little bit of a role play. But some questions we asked ourselves: what resources should we be providing to faculty? Are workshops only enough? What types of things do we have to have available? How can we integrate QM standards and sound pedagogical practice into the resources? So we wanted them to not just be resources to be digested, but how they could also be tutoring resources at the same time. What kinds of obstacles do we foresee? We'll try to head those off on the front end. And then, is it feasible? Can we actually do this? Can we build a template that, in my opinion, kind of started as ambitious? And hopefully we met that. So, as I mentioned, I need a volunteer to unmute themselves. My volunteer, don't worry, I would never call anyone in this the devil. I'll be the devil. My volunteer will be the angel. And we're going to do a little role play reading through this scene together. Do I have a volunteer?
Sure.
Paula. Terrific. Okay, Paula, again, you're the angel. Okay, I promise. I'll be the devil. I'm going to do my best to get in my evil voice here. So here we go. This is kind of how our conversation went. You'll notice that the little angel and devil over my shoulders, this really was, I kind of looked in the mirror and had this conversation with myself. So here we go. Your office can't both help the faculty build courses and quickly and with quality.
Yes, we can. We can build a template for all courses, one that will not overburden faculty and will help students learn.
Done it. What could possibly set this template apart? How much could it really support faculty and students?
We build it so that it models and teaches about the QM standards. It can act as a subversive workshop, an unworkshop available to faculty as they build their courses.
Interesting. And the student experience?
Well, we provide a structure that sets students and faculty up for success, one that models teaching practices, or at least provides resources for success.
So you want to dictate how faculty should teach their courses, removing creativity and individuality. I think I might like your plans.
Actually, I think we are only setting them off on a path. They can always choose to deviate from our structure, but we want to provide them with examples, opportunities, and options they can choose to emulate.
This is ambitious. You'll never get this done.
Maybe, but we are going to try.
Thank you so much, Paula. I appreciate it. So I know that seemed maybe a little silly for some. Ultimately, what we did in our needs analysis was we really just sat down and had an honest conversation and really laid out what was needed. We asked a ton of questions. We audited what we already, had in existence. We had a master course template that was very much a bare bones skeleton. Here's some folders and it just a generic name for a folder. We had a few resources sort of hyperlinked in there. And as we started to develop it and we really got a lot of feedback from our faculty internally, from our office, what kinds of questions are we answering? What are we actually consulting with faculty about? It really helped drive a lot of the building of this. And one of the areas in which we very much decided to start was we said, obviously, let's look at the QM rubric. And we're going to build our template based on the QM rubric and especially, the big ones of the QM rubric. Now, obviously, we're all very familiar that the QM rubric, are 8 standards. So some things, of course, cross, boundaries here, so to speak. We don't have 8 separate pieces of our template, but what we're really going to focus on in today's presentation is our Start Here folder, our syllabus, course overview, and course / goals and course schedule folder, and our course modules, weekly course materials folders. And this is really now, again, back to our group here today. This is a choose your own adventure from the group type of thing. So I'm not going to go through this necessarily in a linear fashion. On this particular slide in your Pear Deck, you'll see a button that says answer question. And really, I'm just looking for wherever we have the most responses, where will we start today? What is the crowd most interested in taking a look at? Number 1, Start Here, 2, syllabus, or 3, course modules. One of the reasons, but as these replies start to come in, I did not bother incorporating 4, 5, 6 student support resources. I figured most likely you've been providing those, although I will show you examples today. We built a folder specifically for exams to help those really stand out at midterm and final exam time. And of course, course evaluations, we built a separate folder for that. So every institution I know does things slightly different there. So with our responses coming in, ooh, we've got a tight race between Start Here and course. I'm going to recuse myself and not vote. I don't want to push this in a certain direction. We'll give it, let's say, about 10 more seconds for the votes to come in. And I don't want to skew anyone, so I'll remove that for just a moment. We don't want people, you know, I used to teach history in another life, so I think about politics and, you know, those poll results coming in, and are you inadvertently skewing the data when people know it ahead of time? We'll say about 5 more seconds. All right, in a tight race, we're going to say the start here folder is where everyone would like to begin. So I'm going to really just advance to the next slide then. And when you do get access to this Google Slide presentation, which I'm not sure if Jim had shared that yet or not, but it's all of these are hyperlinked in here. And now we've got a very similar question. Obviously, you can see I've got hyperlinks for how we're providing this to our faculty, purpose, examples, other things of that nature. And our Start Here folder breaks down into 5 sections. Our welcome message and course orientation, meet and contact your instructor, excuse me, netiquette, how to reply to discussion posts, and learner introductions. So another vote, you'll just enter number 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, and we'll see that on the response screen. And this will dictate which one we actually dive into right now. And I'll show some of the resources, and I'll actually show it live in our actual Blackboard template. Blackboard is what we're using. So we'll give that a few more seconds. Okay, so we've got quite a few for 5, but I would say it looks like most people are selecting number 1, although we've got some 8s coming in. There we go. So again, we're just going to stick with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And for now, I'm going to jump into our Start Here welcome message. This point on the shared screen, I'm going to actually jump into our Blackboard course. And just give me a moment. I'm going to make this a little larger to hopefully help you out on your screen. At Daemen College, we are embracing Blackboard Ultra for those of you that are familiar with it. I know we've got a lot of different LMSs across there. When we look at our Start Here folder and our master course template, there we go. It's just got a little bit of a lag. And again, looks like we wanted to look at the welcome message. So we went ahead and we built out a template where our faculty can copy this entire thing or even pieces of it into their courses. And what we did as far as a welcome message was concerned is we still have to finish building this piece out, but every single one of these opens with a message from us, from the Office of Instructional Design, where we'll have a pre-recorded video sort of walking through, instructor, here's what you should be doing on this page. And then we've given them a little bit of a notation here about use this below as a template to build it out. And if we go a little bit further down talking about our welcome message, in all the green font that's also italicized, of course, we do try to think about our accessibility standards. We've sort of laid out, here's the reason why this section exists. We've had a lot of faculty that have approached us with, why do I have to build it like this? Why does it have to be that way? So back to our needs analysis, we really thought of how can we answer those questions in the template? How can we let them know this is the purpose of it? So this can all be deleted after they've built out their welcome message. We also have a lot of hyperlinks to resources for our faculty. If they're unfamiliar with how to set up a Google appointment in their calendar, they can click on this hyperlink and it comes to an article that our college has on one of our WordPress sites, our How Do I page. We have examples, not only a video example of a welcome message, but we've hyperlinked a text-based welcome message itself. So, I'm not sure what should be in a welcome message. They can click on this, and in just a moment, you'll notice it loads. We can see here's a nice welcome message. They're welcome to treat this as very boilerplate, copy, paste, and replace with the information that they need. You will, by the way, you do have access also to these documents, so you can see a lot of these examples. Whoops, Apologize. Let me come back here. We also make sure to outline, okay, when you fill this out, here is the actual, standard or standards that it meets in the QM rubric. So we're very intentional to let them know about that. And we even offer some extra recommendations, whether it be using our very specific, we pay for a Screencast-O-Matic subscription so they can do the recordings that hyperlinks to our Damon version of that. Again, help articles about Zoom, and even a website article about just some research tips to improve your online teaching presence. So we're really trying to offer them as much as possible. As I mentioned at the top, we're not only trying to offer the opportunity to build capacity, of course, it still is on the faculty to do that. But we're also offering the opportunity to sort of, or I should say, we are taking advantage of the opportunity to give examples and model, here's what a welcome message could look like that would build teacher presence in this particular case. When we scroll a little bit further and we come to our, whoops, forgive me, let me close a tab down here. We come to our course tour orientation. Again, we've really just left an idea of, okay, insert your tour here, but we follow it up with our examples. We've got a video already embedded in there, just demonstrating what a course tour might look like. They're welcome to take a look at. We've got our purpose, again, laying out several ideas on why such a thing exists, followed by our recommendations. And again, a lot of our recommendations come back to just the how-tos, whether it be use Zoom to record or use Screencast-O-Matic to record, whatever it may be. And then to wrap it up, we do have some faculty that they're not quite as comfortable with screen capturing, screen recording yet. So we even did already build and provide a text-based orientation if they use our entire master course template, a text-based orientation for the students to follow through. So we've let the students know, here's your first task, complete the start here section. It really outlines this, but of course, we've got a screenshot that follow those same numbers in line. Here it is, this is where you are. You should be completing the welcome message, then contact your instructor, et cetera, and sort of moving on. Same idea down here. After they complete the start here, what should I be doing next? So in our start here welcome message, that's really how we laid out our template. Again, pretty much throughout the entire master course template, but our purpose, our examples, and our student tasks. So when, again, you click on these hyperlinks, you will have access to these documents in order to sort of maybe take some of our purpose, incorporate it into your own template, expand on it, of course, if need be, but also to really make it fit your institution. Admittedly, I did remove a few hyperlinks that normally would be in here, just because obviously it comes to Damon College, and obviously that wouldn't work for your institution. So obviously, I'm sure you caught on to that. Any questions right now? I'll take a very quick pause before perhaps we move on to the next part.
A couple of people I think are having issues with looking at the Pear Deck and then the Zoom thing. Although I was watching from Zoom, your Pear Deck wasn't moving any further, which I don't think it was supposed to, though.
No, I've been jumping between tabs. So I'm actually on Blackboard here. If you're looking at the Zoom, on your Pear Deck presentation, it should still be stuck on the start here slide. Yeah. I had a few questions directed, right to me. It says, will the material be available after the session is over? I believe Jim also put a message in the chat about that. Jim, I'll let you answer that real quick.
Yeah, it's on your portal. The link to the presentation is in your portal under this session. And we are recording this, and the recording will be sent out to you on Tuesday.
Great. And then, do all faculty do this, including adjuncts? Great question. So we have made it optional for faculty to incorporate this master course template, mainly because we don't have all faculty that are teaching fully online. So we do highly encourage it. We do highly recommend it. When we have our consultations, a lot of times we do sort of point our faculty in this direction. We have had some departments that have basically said, yes, our adjuncts are going to use it. And then other departments, again, they still keep it very open and very a la carte. Something else we learned with Ultra, and again, I realize everyone's LMS is slightly different. So one of the things we learned was copying in Ultra. These are just folders that were created versus down here, these grayish boxes. These are learning modules. And what we came to realize was some faculty only wanted pieces from this master course template, which Ultra does not allow the copying of just a piece from within a learning module, as they call it. So we built some of these elements to be in folders instead, so they could copy just from, one element from within a folder. So that was something else that we sort of learned along the way. I'm going to come back to the Pear Deck presentation now. And when we looked at our responses from our start here, our second most requested was the fifth one, which again would have been the learner introductions. This might be one of my favorite ones that we built. So I'm going to, again, I'll demonstrate from our actual template itself, and I'll jump to the learner introductions. So we built the discussion post. And in just a moment, again, we've got a space where every single one of these assets will have a quick 1 minute or less introduction from instructional design from our office about what could be done, especially how to work the tools of this page. So that's something we point out briefly, hoping to build that capacity. We give our very templated insert whatever here, and then it flows back into our examples again and our purpose. So we do have an example which faculty could very quickly copy and paste about introductions, right? So by Thursday, August 8th, create and post, and then here's a quick little sort of outline of how you're going to introduce yourself. This is a little standard, if you will. And then, of course, by Sunday, about 2 or 3 days later, they should respond to classmates. So we provided those examples, but we've also given presentations on campus. So you will not have access to this, but just to give you an idea, we did hyperlink to other workshops and presentations we've run specifically, for example, about effective discussion design. So again, offering those opportunities for faculty to revisit things, recap things, maybe workshops they've never attended in the first place. Hey, here's access, by the way, and take a look at it. Here's some ideas you can start to incorporate. We've got resources for rubrics, other course introductions, which I believe this one goes to an article. Yep, this goes to an article at UNC Charlotte. I don't know if anybody's UNC Charlotte in this, maybe our person from Boone, my alma mater, woohoo, UNC Charlotte. Anyways, we're really trying to build that capacity in every aspect of our master course template. So the examples are there, other hints, things like that. And good. Alternative example, we also have this goes back to those questions, right? Those needs analysis. We also have an example of, we call it Learner Introductions Refresh. This is sort of a faculty guide. The classic is what I've been demonstrating, the make a video, post yourself, let's see who you are, introduce. But what we have is we've got some different examples on how they can maybe spice it up in different courses. The pets perspective might be one of my favorites, right? Fun and lighthearted way to have students learn about each other, where they take the perspective of, the gist of it is this: how does your dog see you? Or how does your goldfish see you? Introduce yourself through the eyes of your dog or your fish, or whatever your pet may be. So we're providing, again, a lot of other resources for faculty to tap into. Any other questions? All right.
I don't see it in the chat.
Terrific. Well, I'm going to move to our next one then. So in your Pear Deck, same thing as before, we've got another vote. We've got our section about the syllabus, course overview, and course schedule. And we've got 4 items here. our syllabus access, our schedule activities and assessments, grading and evaluation, and a syllabus quiz. So if everyone take just a moment to vote, take a quick look. Right now, I'd say it looks like, kind of a tie between that syllabus quiz and the syllabus access part. So we'll give it just another few seconds here. Choose our adventure. $16 of 26 responses, 17. Ooh, wow. This one's going to be tough to identify, but I'd say the second one seems to be in the lead. Okay. We'll give it just about 5, 4, right? The bomb is ticking. This is Mission Possible. 3, 2, 1. Here we are. Okay, so we're going to focus on the second one. Schedule of activities and assessments, our purpose and our examples. So let me back out of our Start Here folder. Whoops, I clicked the hyperlink on accident. There we go. And our second one here, schedule of activities and assessments. So real quick, just so you can see our rundown. Again, we did pre-populate those elements that we just saw. One thing that is missing from the presentation, you don't see Respondus here. That is something that we use. Again, I just kind of left it out of today's presentation, but we make sure to bring that in. We want our students as early as possible in the course to download Respondus, get it set up. Of course, faculty are welcome to just delete this from their course if they're not going to use Respondus. We don't mandate that. So schedule activities and assessments. That's the one that we're taking a look at. Something I did neglect to point out in our first piece of this that I'll take just a moment to now hit on. In our titles of our folders or documents, we make sure to point out the QM standards that these assets could correlate to. We don't guarantee that the template will automatically mean that it'll pass or meet QM standards, but what we do is we do let them know that if all of these elements are incorporated, you most likely will meet these standards. So we just put that in parentheses. And again, when faculty bring this into their course, they typically delete what you see in parentheses at the top of the page. So our very first asset that students would see would definitely be the course schedule. We hyperlink. We are big fans of trying to make things sustainable. So in this particular case, students would click on the hyperlink to the course schedule. Now for our faculty, this comes to our template for a course schedule, where they're welcome to make a copy and of course, create their own schedule. And again, I'll make this a little larger in case you're having trouble seeing. For students, of course, just try to imagine that they would actually land on the course schedule. We're big fans of hyperlinking and not uploading very many documents if we can help it. We find that it's a little more sustainable. Faculty can just therefore, instead of having to take down a file and re-upload a new one, they can just upload, or I'm sorry, let me rephrase, they can just edit that Google Doc and that hyperlink should never change. They can update it for the fall, for the spring, for the summer, whichever semester they're working in. And then we also tend to, our model here, as I mentioned before, we model some of the things that we encourage our faculty to do. Remind the students in your course schedule, what are the course outcomes or the student learning outcomes? That's our very first thing listed. Then we go into whether it's designed by modules or by weeks. We just defaulted to a weekly setup in our course schedule here. And you'll notice we also don't go very far. We just kind of let them know, hey, continue this pattern. But what we've outlined, and again, we encourage our faculty to do, is we've outlined what are the module objectives. So you'll see here in week 1, here's our first module. We've got 3 objectives. And then in parentheses afterwards, we've got our whichever course objectives those align to. And we're really, it is a little selfish. It is a little self-serving. If we have faculty use this, it's made our QM reviews very, very easy. A lot easier to go through in our in-house reviews and sort of see the alignment. We've got our activities and our interactions sort of built in this hierarchy, in our Harvard note-taking style hierarchy here. So A is watch this video, B, watch this e-lesson. For module objective 2, right, define the elements. We're going to read the PowerPoint. We're going to engage in the discussion. So we've sort of provided, again, this model of, hey, faculty, you can really let the students know this is the direction the course is going in. And again, it's hyperlinked in our template here. Faculty, with our intro video, they'll be encouraged to replace this hyperlink, of course, with a hyperlink to their own schedule. We usually have a topic outline, and let me get rid of that for a moment and come back to our session. So our purpose and our examples, if I'm just going to jump to our example, which everyone should have access to. And this is an example actually from one of our service learning courses. Again, something we encourage our faculty to provide. We actually would create this in Blackboard itself, or at least encourage faculty to provide a hyperlink to it. But here's our course objectives. Here's the various topics as we go from module through module. So again, I hate to sound like a broken record. Lots of hyperlinks to resources that we've created, workshops we've created, videos, articles that we found as an office. Lots of things really sort of helping our faculty. And where appropriate and where possible, we definitely like to provide alternatives. Some faculty don't like the idea of having a separate document, but they, we provided this alternative. Well, you could do it this way then. And so that's what some of these hyperlinks go to, showing some other things that either we found or we've helped faculty themselves create. All right, so there's our schedule of assessments. I'm sorry, of activities and assessments. I'll take a quick pause again. Your Pear Deck slide should not have advanced. We're about to go into our last one as we wind down some time here, but any questions from this, or would anyone like me to visit our second place? It's probably the first one. I'll visit our second place real quick, and then I'll move into our last. So the syllabus access. As I mentioned, we like to do a lot of hyperlinking. So for our faculty, the hyperlink for the syllabus is here. We have a syllabus template for online courses that we've created, meets a lot of our internal quality assurance processes, but of course QM. And so again, this will bring our faculty directly to our syllabus template. We've let them know what meets the Educational Policy Committee, EPC, and QM standards. It is a very verbose document. It's very long-winded. They do have the flexibility to eliminate things. They certainly don't have to use everything we have there. But again, we really tried to cover as much as we possibly could. And I'm going to jump to our student support services as an example real quick. So again, we're looking at our QM aspects. We let them know that there actually is something in the master course template that does lay out our Daemon library and student handbook, or for technical support, our Smart Squad, our minimum tech requirements, and things like that. So we use the hyperlinks even in the syllabus document as well. But faculty can just come and go file, make a copy, and now they have their own version where once you have that fluency, obviously with Google Docs, it makes that sustainability a lot easier. They don't have to constantly upload and re-upload new documents all the time. So one of the sites that actually is hyperlinked, it should also be hyperlinked in your presentation when you get to the purpose for this syllabus access, is a hyperlink to Penn State's accessibility website. So we do make sure to point out to faculty that, yes, accessibility is important. Every single document needs to have that, every PowerPoint, etc. That's one of the benefits of our syllabus template, is we've already gone ahead and made it accessible, as long as they keep the heading styles and don't change font and put a whole bunch of crazy things in there. So that is something we like to point out. And of course, those QM requirements that the syllabus itself could meet. So without further ado, I'm going to now go to our last choose your own adventure. We've got quite a few here. I know we don't have a ton of time left. So this time you do have 7 things from which to vote. In our course weekly modules materials, we've got our introduction that we provide at the beginning of every module, our readings, discussion activity, assignment, quiz, journal entry, and reflection activities. I would love to show you an example of any one of those. So take a moment and vote. We'll see how the votes are coming in so far. Ooh, right now I'd say it's tie maybe between, no, the last one, reflection activity, seems to be pulling ahead maybe slightly. So we'll give that another, we'll say 10 seconds. 10 seconds for the votes. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. And this one seems to be the winner to me. So we will go with reflection activity. So one thing we've done, and I'll say this is a mistake I made, so I'll own it. I made with our first iteration of our master course template. We went and we built 15 for one for each weekly module. And what we came to realize was it overwhelmed a lot of faculty first. And then second, we had a lot of faculty that didn't delete the extras that they didn't use or didn't treat them as templates. So what ended up happening was their grade book, for example, was just flooded with all of these extra assets that they didn't really need. The course was flooded, and it became sometimes for faculty a little difficult to navigate. So in this iteration, we boiled it down to, look, we'll provide one folder with a bunch of assets and end of story. You can duplicate from there. So anyways, the reflection activity. When we come to our reflection activity, again, we've got just a very generic title here, week 1, module 1 reflection. We'll have an introduction. Here's what you should do on this page. Here's where you can insert your parameters of your reflection. But of course, we'll come down to that purpose, right? So purpose of the reflection, we've laid a lot of this out, especially this introspective part. I'll be honest, I'm just noticing this now, and this is something I need to revisit. We didn't lay out specifically the QM standard that this would apply to. So that is something I'm going to have to go back and rectify. But we, of course, do have an example of a reflection activity, some hyperlinks to some resources I mentioned before. And what we also like to do, and you would see this in our assignment activities or our discussion post activities as well, we do give them hyperlinks to examples for reflection guidelines, some instructions they could put together for students. And again, treat this as boilerplate, copy, paste, and use as instructions for reflection activities. Same thing with rubric resources. We've already gone ahead and built some critical thinking rubrics, some discussion post rubrics, inquiry and analysis rubrics that they can decide to either use or manipulate and change to suit their needs for themselves. So lots of resources. We're offering that opportunity. We're hoping to build capacity through faculty's exploration of this. But then they would obviously just insert it. Our example real quick is, again, pretty standard. Here's our due date. Here's our links to our instructions and the rubric itself, right? We're hitting on those QM standards. And then just some quick questions that might be asked as part of a reflection assignment or assessment for students. So faculty, again, are welcome to come and copy paste this and plop it right in here. And all they need to do, by the way, I know I've sort of really rushed through this a little bit. What we encourage them, you'll notice this tag right here says, remove the information below, italicized in green font, prior to making this available. So we're even giving them that hint that you don't want to leave this in here for your students to see. This is here for while you're building, but then make sure to remove this green italicized font. We can always repopulate this asset if we need to, if you've forgotten where these things are. Same thing with the red bold font at the top. We'll have our little introduction video there. here's how you use this page. But you know, faculty, this really is for you. I see that some of us in this session have had faculty leave those things. Obviously, that's completely your call. Our faculty do like to, in general, and I am generalizing, they like to try to have things as streamlined and as clean as possible. So, you know, that's something that we do try to encourage. So, questions about our reflection activity or our course weekly modules. We've got about 5 minutes. So one question I see is, are all of the videos tailored to the template or are they the same recording? Great question. So we haven't, if you're, I assume, let me come back into this asset real quick. I assume you're asking about these beginning videos. They are tailored to the asset, or they will be. We've created some of them. We haven't finished creating all of them for each asset, but they are tailored to the asset itself. And someone did ask, what LMS are we using? We are using Blackboard Ultra. We've updated to that. We've got about half our faculty using the newer version of Blackboard Ultra, and then half the faculty, we're still supporting the older version. The plan is by the fall to have everyone switch to the updated version. I'll come back to our presentation here. And again, on your Pear Deck, it should advance to the next mission. So this is where I'm going to seek some of your feedback. Hopefully mission accomplished, but there's always room for growth, right? So quick evaluation modifications. First, a little rundown. Flexibility for faculty. We really do believe that this template does offer them flexibility. There's nothing in here that says they have to use it. They're welcome to use pieces. They're welcome to use the whole thing or anything in between. It does not dictate how they use it at all. All assets are editable. So nothing is, you know, again, set in stone. They can change some of that boilerplate wording that I demonstrated today. The purpose, of course, as I mentioned, offers explanations for each asset, and except for the one or two that I even pointed out today, they even offer here's how it fits the QM rubric. Here's how it'll help you meet a specific or several QM standards. The examples, we do try to model best practices the best we can. And again, this is sort of coming from the stance of right now, we haven't bit off more than we can chew and gone into some more advanced student engagement pieces with faculty through this template. This is, let's get it rolling. Let's build the structure, and we can worry about putting in the fancy things maybe a little bit later. Of course, we do offer recommendations again. Some opportunities for improvement that we've noticed, definitely those asset introductions, as I mentioned, we're not quite finished building those yet. Obviously, another opportunity for improvement, I need to go through and sort of recheck some of these assets and make sure we do have that QM standard that it meets tagged for each one of these. But I'm going to turn it over to the group and ask, what do you see? You're welcome to unmute yourself for that, and I'll actually take it to your next Pear Deck slide as well. I am curious, for your own goals, what do you think will be the easiest to adopt? What will be the most challenging to implement? And on your Pear Deck sign-in, you should see an option for text and things like that. So I'll leave it here while we look at some of the chat and any oral questions that anyone has. Okay, so Lynn, we have surveyed our students. They comment on the comment template across the college, and especially when faculty develop a robust Start Here folder, so that as they move from course to course in the program and also with the Gen Ed, it eases their anxiety. We've noticed something similar as well, Lynn, that our students can sort of kind of have a prediction, right? When things are a little bit more standardized, they don't get as lost. It's easier to navigate. And Mona asks, how did this change the way faculty interact with the instructional designers? Great question, Mona. From my perspective, I certainly won't speak for everyone in the office, but from my perspective, what I've noticed is at first, we had some faculty resistance. We did have some faculty, like the devil said earlier, you're trying to dictate how we're teaching, you know, how dare you. We had some of that. But that was also part of, we did a lot of outreach, so to speak, a lot of community building just between our office and faculty, where we almost to nausea, we kind of beat it down that, listen, we're here to help. We're not telling you how to teach. We're just offering some structure that you might use. And one of the other things I did in another life before joining Daemen College was I worked construction to get through college. So I use that metaphor of, it's like building a house. We provided the foundation, we provided the walls and the ceiling, but you know what? You get to choose the kitchen layout. You get to choose the paint color. You get to choose, you know, what the ceiling is going to look like if we're going to put some texture on it. We really tried to let them know that we've just provided the structure. It's really on you now what it looks like. Let's see. We remind faculty it's about students and their learning first, not their teaching. Terrific. That's a great point, Lynn. Amy, yes, faculty willingness to spend the time to change the course. Some are so set in their ways. And yes, I would say that Lynn hit on a good point here as well. Something that we look at, we try to be very flexible when we use our template and we're meeting with faculty, letting them know, listen, here's just a way that it could be done. Doesn't mean it is the way. And we found that certainly has been very helpful. So I'm curious if anyone did put anything in the Pear Deck. We'll jump here real quick. What will be easiest to adopt? The Getting Started module. What will be most challenging? Getting faculty buy-in. I would agree. Let's see. I think cleaning up the top section of the master template will be the easiest, hopefully. Let's see. Buying in that template for university is beneficial for instructors who don't want. We got some cutoffs, so don't want to go through QM, but want guidance. Okay. I do agree. We have had some compliments that way that, hey, this actually helps introduce me to the QM rubric a little bit. So that's been terrific. The Start Here folder. All right. So we've got a lot of positivity around the Start Here folder. Switching to linking docs. You know, we thought that would be easy. So just a quick little heads up. We found out that was a little harder than we anticipated. We've got a lot of faculty that are very much in love with their Microsoft Office, and going to the cloud was a little scary. So what will be the most challenging to implement? Videos. So we've got some great responses here.
You know, we're getting close to the end, or a little over. Just letting you know.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to wrap this up by saying, you know, first of all, thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Eric Hill again. I'm a senior instructional designer at Daemen College. Feel free to reach out to me if you have questions. Some of the elements that I was able to present today are, even though I presented them, I did clear this with my director of instructional design, they are proprietary property, so I can't share everything, but at least demonstrating some things, or whatever you do have access to in this presentation. Of course, you know, our boilerplate information about welcome message, as an example, you're welcome to, you know, start to build your own assets with that. So, but I'll be quiet. I know Jim's going to probably wrap us up here in just a moment and explain what we all should do next.